Hi everyone, it's Kirsten Shabazz here from Minneapolis area, and I'm really excited today to share with you my Philadelphia cream cheese appetizer recipe because it has been inspired by a recent trip that my husband and I took. We went on a cruise. We left out of the port of Miami, and I always love going down into the Miami area in Florida because of all of the delicious Cuban restaurants there are. But more importantly, I've got an aunt and uncle and some cousins down there. My aunt is actually from Cuba, and whenever we would go visit as children, she would always make the most incredible, delicious Cuban spread you would feast your eyes on. I wish I could sit for hours in her kitchen and learn from her and her mom and her sister how to make all those delicious dishes. So whenever I go back down there, I always have to go get myself some really good Cuban food. And there is nothing like it in the world. But as I was sitting there, I kind of thought about the Cuban sandwich and how the Cuban sandwich could easily be translated into the dip that I'm going to make for you today using our Philadelphia cream cheese. And what we can do is we can use that for our guests to enjoy. Instead of making individual sandwiches for everybody, they can all dip into this dip and get the same flavors, the same delicious taste from the Cuban sandwich, but in this appetizer. So I'm going to get started cutting up the rest of my smoked ham here. I've got some smoked ham, and we're going to put this together and get it in the oven so that we can taste the final product. So I'll be back with you in just a second, and we'll put this all together. Alright, I got my smoked ham all diced up for our Cuban dip. We're going to use our Philadelphia cream cheese today to make this incredible Cuban dip that's inspired, as I said, from a recent trip that my husband and I took. And I've had so many different Cuban dishes over the years that I think that's helped me really fall in love with different ethnic foods. So what I thought is it would be perfect to do something like this, something a little bit different, and put it in a dip for people at your party to dip their bread into. Now what I've done is I've got in here my 8 ounces of cream cheese that's been softened. To that I'm going to add some mayonnaise here. Get that in the bowl with the cream cheese. And that's about half a cup of mayonnaise. And we're going to just mix this up so that we can get the base for our dip here. And then, like any good Cuban sandwich, I've got some diced pickles here. I've got some Swiss cheese, I've got some pulled pork, and I was so excited when I went into the supermarket and found some smoked pork already cooked, ready to go. All I have to do is open up the package and put it in here. And how easy is that to make this awesome dip for your guests when they come, because everything's pretty much done for you here. So we'll get that mixed up. Alright, next we're going to add our pickles. I've got about 1/3 of a cup chopped pickles. And then we're going to use half a cup of Swiss cheese in the dip. The other 1/4 cup that I have, we're going to sprinkle on top so that kind of gives it a nice cheesy top at the end. Okay, so let's get some Swiss cheese in there. And it's always fun when you travel to pick up different dishes that you eat and think how you can duplicate those at home and redo them. I know we've talked about that before on the site, that it's nice when you can go out to eat and come home and try and recreate that dish, but it's sometimes fun to do it in a different way with a twist. So here's my smoked ham. I'm going to put about a cup of smoked ham in my bowl here. And then this great smoked pork that's all ready to go. All I have to do is pull it out of this little container here. And then usually when you go get a pulled, or not a pulled pork, but when you go get a Cuban sandwich, what they've done is they've slow roasted the pork with different citrus and different herbs. And so because this is already cooked, but it wasn't cooked with any citrus flavor, we're going to add our own. We're going to put about a cup in here of the pulled pork. We're going to add our own, and we're going to put a little bit of a lime zest in this bowl and mix this all together so you get a little bit of that flavor, that ethnic southern flavor from the Cuban dishes and whatnot. So I've heard other people that have used orange peel and lemon peel along with the lime peel to slow roast their pork. So we're going to put maybe about We're going to try and put almost this whole lime zest in here. So it should just take a minute here. And then we'll be able to mix this all together and get it in the lime about zested. Knock that in there. Okay, and then let's finish stirring this together with the ham and the pickles, the Swiss cheese and the cream cheese and mayonnaise. And then that lime zest is just going to add a little, what is that flavor? So when your guests dip in, they won't quite know, but some of them might if they've had a Cuban, I guess. And this is looking really good. Mix this together here. All right. Now this is all mixed and incorporated. We're going to put this in our pie plate here. Put this in the pie plate, and then we're going to bake this at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes or until it's nice and golden and bubbly and melty. Oh, this is going to be delicious. And while this is baking, I'm going to show you what we're going to make to dip, and wait until you see this toast or the bread that we're going to dip into the dip here. You are going to love it. So let me get the rest of this in here. I'm going to put this in my oven, 350 remember, for 30 to 35 minutes. And while that's baking, I'm going to show you the bread dippers that we have. So we'll see you back here in a minute. Alright, I pulled our Cuban dip out of the oven. The edges are nice and golden and kind of crunchy from that cheese, and it looks delicious. And if you remember, I told you while this dip was baking, I was going to do something special to the bread. And what I did to all my little bread slices is I just put a little bit of mustard on each slice, because what Cuban isn't good with mustard? None that I know of. I love it with mustard on it. So I'm going to go ahead and try this dip here. We're going to get in there, and I can see the pickles, and you got the ham, and it's got stringy cheese. That's the best way to eat a dip. Get that on there. Oh, wow. Mmm. Mmm. You can taste the pickles. You taste a little bit of that lime zest. You can taste the smokiness from the ham and the pork. And the cream cheese, the creamiest of cream cheese in this makes this just melt in my mouth. I cannot wait to eat more of this. So from my heart to yours, until next time, go get yourself a box of Philly and make this dip tonight. Have a great day.